We've lived in both Guadalajara and now the Lake Chapala area in Mexico, and one of the top questions we get asked is, where should you go? Should you go to Mexico's second largest city, or should you go about an hour out into the very famous Lake Chapala area? And in this video, we're going to be telling you the pros and cons of each and what might be suited for each person depending on what your preferences are.
Welcome to Entrepreneur Expat. On this channel, we talk about everything to do with moving overseas, having a location-independent business, or remote or investment income that allows you to support this lifestyle, as well as all the little details involved in actually making that process happen. If you're interested in working with our team directly and having us help you with the immigration and relocation process, make sure you go to the link on your screen and below this video, which is entrepreneurexpat.com/consult, and we can get your personal situation squared away and tell you exactly what you need to do next in order to get going.
And also make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we have coming out on this channel. We're doing our best to answer all the questions that we get asked. Even in the last 2 weeks while we were moving, we had a record number of relocation applications come in
Every single day,
and we're doing our best to answer all these questions as quickly as we can. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, because we have a mission of getting in front of 1 million entrepreneur expats or aspiring entrepreneur expats, so that we can help people internationalize themselves in a crazy world.
So here's the kind of profile that would probably make sense for Guadalajara. Let's say that you really love to go to different international restaurants, you frequently go out, maybe you like to occasionally, once a week or something, go out to like a bar or a nightclub, and you're looking for a more, metropolitan scene where there's people from all over the place, it's a little bit more of an international vibe. That's more Guadalajara. You would also definitely find more, I would say, active business people there. You would find more to do overall. Obviously, it's a big city. If you're looking for jiu-jitsu, you're going to find it there, although they probably have jiu-jitsu in Jocotepec already. I haven't actually checked. But you're looking, let's say, for specific sports or clubs or things to do. There's definitely a lot more of that in Guadalajara. So if you get bored really easy, if you're not constantly out and about doing something, meeting people, whatever, maybe that's more of a vibe for you. Anything else you would add to that?
I would add a couple things. I think if convenience is really important to you, like it was for me for a long time, then maybe you want to be more in a big city or a city center, because then you could just walk to anything that you need. One of the things that we loved about Guadalajara and the neighborhood we were living in, we could literally walk anywhere to anything that we needed. Here it's a little bit different. We need the car. Granted, there's no traffic and we're only 10 minutes from the nearest town, so it's not a huge deal. But if convenience is very important for you, then maybe the city makes a lot more sense for you. We've had a lot of comments come in from some of you on our older videos about Guadalajara, about how you chose certain areas in Guadalajara specifically because they were so walkable.
And then on that note, if you don't have a car and you're not planning on getting a car, you certainly could get by depending on how far you are from the center of a town. But if you want to really enjoy the true nature and beauty, let's say somewhere in the Chapala area, you might be, maybe on top of a mountain or somewhere that's not necessarily right in the middle of a town, especially if you want a lake view like we have. So it's not that you can't get by at all without a car. You're going to be just doing a ton of walking, and a lot. If we were to not have a car, we would have to probably walk around a quarter of a mile down the hill to the highway and then uphill, same distance, which is going to be significantly harder. So if we didn't have a car and we weren't planning on getting a car, we would either choose to be in a city like Guadalajara, or at the very least somewhere like downtown Chapala or Ajijic or Jocotepec. At least in Chapala and Ajijic, I believe they have Ubers. In this area, I have not yet actually seen or heard of Ubers. They have people that sort of do Uber, but it's not actually on the platform. They're more like just, drivers that you can text in a group or whatever, and they can come pick you up. So It's possible without a car. It's just not going to be as comfortable. To go on Amanda's note about convenience. And then things like Uber Eats or Rappi if you're trying to get groceries or things like that delivered. Now, interestingly enough, when we were filming the first part of this video, our grocery delivery guy showed up. It wasn't a Rappi type of situation or Uber Eats or whatever where you can order from an app, but we have his number because we found it in one of the stores in Hoko, and
There's
we
a lot of
texted him.
servicio a domicilio.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who will deliver things to your house. And so we texted him, we said, hey, we need this, this, and this. We gave him the list, and then we paid him when he got here, and we paid a few dollars as like a service fee for him bringing all that stuff up to us. So you can find things that are delivered to you. It's just not as convenient as, let's say, okay, you know what, I want a pizza right now. I'm going to go in 3 clicks and order, 1 out of 50 different kinds of pizza that I can find on Rappi, for example.
Yeah, now Ajijic and Chapala is more developed, so there might be more in those areas in that sense, but nowhere near like where you're going to find in a major city like
Guadalajara. There's going to be like
Guadalajara.
100 different restaurants you can order from.
Yeah. And one thing I would add is it might depend on the kind of business that you are in. So, for example, Guadalajara is known for tech, for example. There are startups there. So if you're in that world or have something to do with that world, then, you might have to physically plant yourself in a location where those things are happening. Now, for us, that doesn't really matter because we work online and we can go anywhere in the world and we don't have to be tied to any specific location. So for us, that doesn't matter. But for someone who's watching this, then it might matter. And I will also say, because this actually came up with one of our contacts in Guadalajara, who actually, if you're watching, hi Angela, she actually moved to Guadalajara in part thanks to some of our videos and got her residency in Mexico and things like that. And she said something really interesting, which was my logic when I got to Mexico a couple years ago, which was that if you're in a transitional period and you're coming from a major US city, or Canadian city or European city, then moving out to the Lake Chapala area or a small beach town or anything of the sort, un pueblo or anything of the sort might be too much of a shock to your system.
Yeah.
So, for example, I liked Guadalajara because I was like, and this is what Angela said, right? It was like she was from Atlanta and I was from Miami, and she goes, Guadalajara still seems slower to me than Atlanta, for example, or it seems slower to me than Miami. Now, after a couple years or 3 or 4 or 5 years, then obviously it's kind of like, I think your nervous system kind of regulates to the country and the culture. So now Guadalajara seems fast to me.
And I think it's because of the different like culture and pace of living
Yeah.
in Mexico in general. Even though it is a big city, if you take out the traffic, which is just absolutely crazy in Guadalajara, it is definitely a slower pace of life than a U.S. city. So it's too much of a like cognitive dissonance if you go from, let's say, Miami to somewhere like Chapala.
Exactly, right? So for
It's
me,
too many levels.
It's too many levels. It's like changing country, that's enough
Yeah.
of a shock. Now changing from a city to a smaller town in another country, way too much of a shock. So I think that might be something to consider as well, because that was basically my reasoning when a couple years ago when we were traveling all throughout the west coast of Mexico. I was like, I can't, like I have to go back to like a city. I understand the energy of a city. Now, obviously, my nervous system is kind of regulated to the pace here in Mexico, and we've traveled a lot more, and I got to know a lot more areas, because I didn't even know the Chapala area existed until I got here. I know a lot of you already know about it, but I had no idea of its existence until I got to Mexico. So that might be something to consider. Like if you're coming from a major city in the US, Canada, or Europe, then maybe Guadalajara is the place for you to start. It may not be where you stay, but it could be a place for you to start, because it's going to seem slower to you. Maybe not European cities, but at least American and Canadian cities like Guadalajara, even though it's very fast paced and the second largest city in Mexico, is still going to seem slower to you than a city,
LA
or New York or Atlanta or Miami or Houston or Chicago.
Yeah, and I think that it's also it's more of a soft landing too, because there's definitely a higher concentration of expats, especially in certain areas like Colonia Americana. Chapalita definitely has a handful. Providencia. So there's more like expats. There's more meetups you could probably find a little. It's not that you can't find community out here, because we're already starting to make friends with our neighbors and things like that, and we've even bumped into some people on the streets that were just subscribers of ours
And they
from
recognized
the
us,
U.S. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But you'll probably find it a little bit easier to adapt if you've never moved to another country and you really like going to meetups and things like that before you become, I guess, a little bit more independent, if you will, from that place that you live. Like if you're looking to build connections more readily, maybe the city would be a better fit. It's a little bit more, like I said, of a soft landing. In some cases, depending on where you are, the infrastructure might actually be a little bit better, or at least more accessible. Like, hey, if you want to go get a cell phone, you just go down to the Telcel store or the OXXO or whatever. You can easily get a chip. Here, you might have to go all the way to I think Ajijic was the closest Telcel,
yeah.
and you could still buy prepaid SIM cards in like grocery stores and things. But if you have an issue and you need to go to the customer support, for instance, it's a lot easier to do that in Guadalajara. You just hop into an Uber. Transportation also, it's easier to get to the airport or some other transportation hub, or just hop in an Uber and go downtown, versus maybe trying to figure out buses and things like that a little bit more if you're more out in Chapala or an area. Chapala itself will have Uber, but again, if you're in the lakeside area but not right downtown in one of those population centers, you're going to find it harder to find some of those transportation.
Yeah, also for culture junkies, if you like art, if you like theater, if you like music, Guadalajara would probably be a better fit for you, because Guadalajara is known in Mexico as an epicenter for arts and culture. There's international festivals going on all the time.
All sorts of dance,
All kinds of things going on in Guadalajara. So that if you like those types of things, then Guadalajara might be a better fit for you in that sense. Again, not to say that those things don't exist out lakeside. It's just lakeside is more chill. It would be probably the best way of describing it. So anything else you would add in terms of like the profile of a person that Guadalajara might be a better fit than like the Lake Chapala area?
No, I think that's pretty good. I mean, if you want to, let's say that, for example, back to the car issue, you don't want to own a car, you want to like really reduce the number of things that you have, and especially if you're planning on, let's say, hopping around countries a lot, it might be easier to do so if you're in a city and you don't have to get a car or have a car here long term, versus out here. I mean, again, it really depends on where you go, but Guadalajara, I think, has more options for I would just say like different types of stays. So here, I mean, yes, you can find like Airbnbs and then long-term leases, but in Guadalajara, there's all sorts of options in between as well. So you can find more flexible things, and it's probably a little bit more digital nomad centric.
Yeah.
I don't know the best way to put it, but like co-working spaces,
Co-working,
things like
co-living. You can find the hybrid co-working, co-living in Guadalajara if you're just passing through. It just really depends on how long you're planning on being here, what your vibe is, what your profile is, what you're looking for. I'll add one thing, which is kind of like a maybe, right? Which is if you're on the younger side, then you might like Guadalajara more than you're going to like the lakeside. But again, it just depends on you, because we're on the younger side and we like to chill out. Like we go to spas for fun and the thermal waters. And our neighbors here, they're our age. They're also in their 30s. They're not that, and they like to garden for fun. So they're from Guadalajara originally, and they were just kind of done with the city.
The high pace of
fast pace of all that kind of stuff. So again, it depends, right? Because I would say that Lake Chapala tends to go on the older side, more the retiree side, but I also see that changing, depending on the profile of the person.
So that reminds me of another thing, which is if you're single, the dating scene is probably going to be a lot better for you in Guadalajara.
Yeah, there's more stuff to do, more places to go.
Yeah, more people, more of a younger crowd.
More of the meetups, more of the apps to meet people.
Yeah, and just
like
in general, because of the population distribution. Here you do see, a lot of like older Mexicans that either live here with their retirement homes or vacation homes, for example, not retirement homes, but they'll have like their vacation homes down here that they'll come to, once a week or so. You'll see the retired Americans and Canadians. It's actually, I think Ajijic is one of the top top expat communities in the world.
Chapala and Ajijic are is the largest expat community of Americans and Canadians in the entire world.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Spot on. So but that is more of an older crowd. And now we're I think very old souls, so we get along, with more people with more of that vibe. We're not really too into the partying and everything else. I kind of got that out of my system in my 20s.
Same.
But yeah, if you are single and you're like looking to make connections, I mean, you could do it anywhere, right? But Guadalajara is definitely a little bit more geared towards that.
Yeah. So now let's go into the profile that might like the Lake Chapala area. I think if you really need nature, so for example, that was one of our deciding factors. It's like this business is growing really quickly. We've had a couple years where that were very fast paced in terms of travel and just lots of things going on in life. And I was like, I think this is going to keep growing and expanding very quickly. I need to put my feet in grass and I need to grass.
And we got grass right out there.
So if you want to be closer to the nature, right, and that's something that's very important to you, then obviously the Lake Chapala area is going to make a lot more sense for you. I would say there's some areas where you can get more of that nature vibe than others along the lake, but obviously it's going to be easier out here. If you like quiet, then definitely the Lake Chapala area. I think, again, depending on where you are, because if you're like in Ajijic Centro or Chapala Centro, then obviously there's going to be a lot more noise. You're like in a city center or a town center. But if you're like where we are, where it's a little bit out of there, and you're like in a koto and you're up a mountain, like it's silence out here, and it's fantastic.
It's great. Yeah, we fall asleep to the sound of like frogs and crickets and things like that.
Yeah, so I think that's
And bugs.
if you like if you like
All of
quiet,
nature.
if you like quiet, then Lake Chapala area. If you like more of a smaller town vibe, not so much a big city, Lake Chapala area. Age, it does tend to be an older crowd. We do see that changing. There are more younger people interested in the area, more younger people with older souls, though, is what I would say, that are interested in the area. I think that would be something that's really important. What else would you say in terms of like what profile makes more sense for like this Lake Chapala type area?
I would say definitely people that can work online. I mean, we spent a few years in the city here in Mexico, and I've lived in other Mexican cities before. But the way that I look at it is like, if I can already work online, make money online anyway, why do I have to be in this like major population center with all of these issues like the pollution, the traffic, the noise?
That's important. Yeah.
I think, and when I had, I actually did some work with the founders of Barefoot Wine several years back, and I got to stay a few times at they've got like this ranch in Sonoma County in California, and that was one of the times where I just realized how much I love just being in nature. I mean, there's just so much vast space and peace and quiet and like grass and trees and plants everywhere, and I was like, this is a vibe. And they told me why they like being out in nature and kind of away from people. So it's like, if you work remotely, if you can make money from anywhere, if you don't have to be in this like major population center, my opinion is why do it. You can always go into the city, you could drive in or take the bus or whatever and be there in an hour and a half. We work online. The internet's actually quite good here. I mean, we're able to get the same, almost a gigabit up and down on fiber as we were in Guadalajara. Exactly the same. It might even be better here because it's less saturated, since there aren't as many people. So we have everything we need to do our work. We can get things delivered through like the delivery people here at different shops and restaurants, or go into town once or twice a week, get our hair cut, do whatever we need, then come back up. And we can get from where we are right now to downtown Jocotepec in about 10 to 15 minutes in the car. So it's really not that bad. Well, you can't get anywhere in 10 minutes in Guadalajara. You're stuck in traffic.
You're stuck in traffic,
So.
yeah. So I think that's something interesting. And then from here, we're like 10, 15 minutes to the thermal spas.
Which are amazing. We talked a little bit about those in our last video. 25
minutes to Ajijic, you're
And Ajijic is already becoming like not a big city, but a sizable city. Like you can find they have Popeyes there. To give you an idea, like, yes, the American chicken chain Popeyes. We went there when we went to Telcel.
We were running some errands in Ajijic, and it was like storage unit, Walmart, Telcel, like all in the same area.
And there was a Popeyes right there. I'm like, you want to go get some chicken?
Louisiana chicken?
It's actually quite good, but they're a little stingy on the sauces here compared to the U.S., but I digress.
So I think that makes sense. Like again, it depends what side of the lake that you're on, right? But if you're on the side where we're on, where it's not as developed, then you just go into Ajijic and Chapala or Hoko, and there's no issue whatsoever. What
We
are
almost don't even need to.
yeah, because everything
You
comes
know,
to us.
everything kind of comes up here, and it's just so chill. I mean, I don't know if you guys can tell, but like well, how would you describe it? Just groundedness and just chillness is on a different level than it was in Guadalajara, because you just hear the birds outside. There's no crazy neighbors yelling or banda music playing. It's just like,
No traffic.
no traffic. I mean, sometimes you hear the gardener mowing the lawn of our complex, but that's about it. Like, there's no noise.
That's about it.
And you can just kind of breathe. And when you can breathe and when you can connect with nature, you tend to get a lot of good ideas. And we don't even have to do any mushrooms or anything like that, like certain spiritual community leaders that we've been hearing a lot about lately, to connect with ourselves. Like, we just walk outside barefoot, put our feet in the ground, maybe do a little bit of meditation or qigong, and you connect with nature. You're not like in the middle of a city trying to either be spiritual or be grounded or like connect with nature and connect with yourself in the middle of, in a little park while 3 lanes of traffic are going around you and people are honking because somebody didn't go a second after the light turned green.
I think this
it's a different vibe.
I think this would also be good for those of you who like living in more of a country vibe but visiting the city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't like living in a city, you would rather visit a city. Chapala is really nice because you're very close to a major city should you need to go, or if you like to visit cities. It's very nearby, so it's not a huge issue. I mean, it's very obvious why this is such a desirable area and why people are so interested in it and why they keep moving here and buying property, and now why they're starting to eye other parts of the lake.
Yeah.
Which all the people in real estate, they know that. And the developers know that as well. Trying to think if there's any other like profile of a person. I think it's just if you're a more chill person, and you're okay with more country vibes and you're okay with more Pueblo vibes, and you need nature, like that's something that's very important to you, then Chapala's fine. It's not like you're out in the middle of nowhere and can't get access to anything. It's not like that.
Yeah, it's not like the country living in the U.S. where maybe you're an hour, half an hour to an hour from the nearest town to go and buy groceries. I mean, we have a little like convenience grocery store type of thing right down at the bottom of the hill. So if
Amazon still does 2-day delivery.
Yeah, we get stuff in 2 days from Amazon.
Yeah,
it's great. They come all the way up here.
It's not a huge deal. Well, I think that's basically it in terms of the profiles. I will add one more. If you're interested in real estate investments, maybe the Chapala area is going to be more interesting for you because Guadalajara is just basically saturated in terms of real estate. I mean, they've run out of space. They're growing. They're growing up at this point, and it's more of a saturated. And from our research and what we've heard from a lot of our real estate people, like unless you have to be there for some reason or you have to invest there for a specific reason, you're gonna find way better stuff out here by the lake.
Buying land.
Even just buying land
for it to grow.
You're gonna find a lot more interesting opportunities out here by the lake, where there's still a lot of opportunity available. Whereas in the cities, it's themselves, like Guadalajara or Mexico City, stuff like that. Like the opportunities just aren't really there. So for those of you who are interested in real estate investing, then that could be a more interesting proposition for you than perhaps Guadalajara, which if you're in a different kind of business, like if you're in the tech business, then Guadalajara is going to be a lot more interesting for you and beneficial than out here on the lake. So again, it totally just depends on you and what your preferences are and what your needs are. So we hope this video was helpful in terms of helping you make that decision for yourself. Our goal here is not to be like, hey, we're in this part of Mexico, so we only recommend this part of Mexico. No, because we understand that people have different needs, there's different profiles, there's different personalities, different strokes for different folks. So we just want to lay it out for you and then help you make the decision that's best for you.
And that's why we're traveling all around. We're showing you different towns, different cities. We're trying not to spend too long in one place, but still enough time to really understand and report back. So if you'd like our team's direct, personalized advice on how you can move to Mexico or elsewhere in Latin America, then definitely go to entrepreneurexpat.com/consult, and we can tell you exactly what you need to do, what the next step is for you to be able to have your dream life abroad. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one.